How's it going, guys and gals? My name is Beckett, and welcome back to another Beckett Reacts. Today we are watching another middle ground video from Jubilee. This one today is called "Can Socialists and Capitalists Find Middle Ground?" Now, as per usual, this is not. I'm not completely inversed and all-knowing about communism. No, communism. No, I mean, sorry, socialism and capitalism and all that stuff. So it's likely that I won't know a lot of what they're saying, but everything I do say is based off what I am aware of. So if there's something that I say that is wrong, that you think is wrong or that is wrong, bear in mind that I'm only speaking from what I know. So, without any further ado, let's get into the video.
We actually aren't looking for a middle ground with capitalism. We're not looking for a lighter, gentler oppression, exploitation, racism. We are seeking revolution.
My name is Liberty. I'm studying psychology at UCLA. I'm 20 years old.
I'm Sean. I'm 24 years old, and I'm in the Socialist Party.
My name's Mimi. 2016, I was the Socialist Party's presidential candidate.
I'm Shay, and I'm with the Socialist Party, and I'm 28.
My name's Jack. I'm 19. I go to community college.
My name's Richard, 19. I go to Cal State Long Beach as a chemistry major with a music minor.
Can I get my socialists on the left and my capitalists on the right? Humans are inherently selfish.
Selfishness is sort of one word for it, but looking out for yourself, your own survival, and your own gain. And of course...
Well, in that scenario, yes. Like, it's human nature to survive, so in some way, shape, or form, then yes, that is correct. But I think, generally, it depends, really. Like, personally, I don't think people are inherently selfish. I just think that... To us, I think it's more of the way that people are brought up. I think. So in my opinion, putting the whole like human, the natural human thing to like just trying to survive and stuff. Putting that aside, I think it's genuinely depending on the family and how you're brought up. I mean, I was brought up to not be selfish, to try and like be caring and stuff, and just try and be non-selfish, basically. Yeah, I think that one depends. I think that one kind of depends.
That includes the gain of those you love, is one of the main motivators of people.
A really good way that we could figure out human nature is by comparing it to animal nature and stuff like that. And you see, animals doing whatever they can to survive. It's just culture that has changed us. But I believe at its core that yes, humans, just like any other animal, are selfish.
I work with children, and my experience of working with people who haven't been acculturated or have been into this idea that they need to be selfish all the time are generally not. Every organism has to have a sense of like getting resources for itself in order to survive, but that's much different than being selfish, I think.
I mean, I think even if you spend any time in a social democracy, let's say you go to Norway and you spend time there where the people see the collective good as tied into their own personal well-being. I think we have so many examples like that, societies working collectively toward a greater good.
The thing about the Nordic countries, in my opinion, is, well, since they're very, very ethnically homogenous, they all have very, very similar culture. It's not an accurate representation of what humans inherently are, because I believe that culture can mask human nature.
So you think that diversity would work against working in harmony toward a collective good?
In diversity, we have different ideas of what good is.
I think competition brings out the best in people.
I am not sure on that one. Let's see what they say.
Especially when, we're competing for something like, let's try to create this compound that could help, the masses in some kind of health relation form. You have all these research labs trying to figure out what's the most efficient way to figure out this process. What's the most efficient way to do this? I think we need more of that sort of sense of competition, especially in the sciences and whatnot.
We frequently hear about the evils of monopolies. It's because, when you control an entire market, why even bother being better at anything? You've got no competition, you've got nothing to strive for, and no one can choose anything else.
I agree with you both on the examples that you gave, but the thing that I'm kind of struggling with, if we're talking about efficiency, quality, then yeah, I think it brings out the best in people, but then again, it tends to bring about greed.
Yeah. Yeah, before I said a minute ago that I wasn't too sure about my stance on that statement. I did have a thought that I did have a small thought that maybe it is again just it's a depending on the situation and sort of the person. I think possibly I'm not sure. But I think that again I think it could be just the person.
Y'all do such a great service. It's a trip to me because, as you're likely aware, that there's this growing support for socialism, an economic system that places people over profit, that you're willing to continue to throw out the same talking points that have failed people so miserably. Again, it's a benefit to us, and I guess we should say thank you.
Nice.
If you care about something, if you're passionate about something, you don't need the threat of someone doing it better than you to do the best that you can do. Ask any creative. Yeah. Competition leads less to excellence and more towards doing whatever you can to edge past the other person.
Today, everyone has the opportunity for success.
Yeah. I think so.
All right, if we're talking about the United States and we're talking about financial success, then yes, I would believe so. If we're talking about the world, it doesn't necessarily have to mean financial well-being or stability. I think that it really just means how you're happy and how you're okay with yourself, and you make a goal and you pursue your goal, and if you fail or achieve it.
That's exactly what I was thinking. I find that there are so many resources out there that you can enact on. It's just there's some people who just don't do anything about it.
My first thought here with this question is, you gotta be fucking kidding me. So many people in this country who solely because they exist, they're under threat, whether it's through, the police, they're just trying to survive.
So everyone's very different. Again, everyone has different opportunities to what they can even consider success. In the US, though, there are a lot of opportunities for most people, though of course, you can't say all, and there are always those who are extremely unfortunate and should be helped.
I'm sure every one of us has sat in a restaurant before, or a Starbucks. Those people work their asses off. Any of these low-income jobs are not easy, and they work for pennies. If something goes wrong with their car, they're done. If they have a health problem, they're done.
You're talking about financial success, though. Success is extremely relative and can be defined in many different ways.
In a capitalist society, though, isn't financial success the most important thing?
No.
I've worked in the food industry for a number of years, and I can not say that any one of my companions was ever happy to be doing that.
Yeah, and if they're going to school on top of that, you know, so they're working full time, and on top of that, they're going to school and they're paying school.
I would consider that successful if you can go to school and you can maintain your GPA and you can also be working a part-time job and somehow affording your school. Yeah, you're doing well in life.
Society should help the underprivileged.
Yeah.
That sort of saying, if you give a man a fish, etc., holds true. And also, who should do the helping and how is very important. Not all acts of service are equally beneficial.
I would agree to that. I myself, you know, I'm sorry to use a personal anecdote here, but I've personally dealt with the fact that, oh, giving someone this much aid, they become lazy. My father is an alcoholic. So since due to an injury in his leg, he gets SSI. And what ends up happening is he receives enough SSI to the point where he's not motivated to do anything else beyond just going home, drinking a beer or something like that. And I think, yes, people should help people, especially if they're underprivileged or they need the resources to push them. But to what end, that's the fine line.
What's that? Just need to search up what SSI means. I'm not too sure. Okay, so there's a lot of different things for it. Okay. Never mind then.
But your personal anecdote only covers the small demographic of the alcoholic. Most of the people that
Every example you guys have brought up has been specifically about people who are particularly poor, when most of the country is lower middle class and up. That's
not a fact. But that you would focus on this in a city, one, that gives more than half of its budget to the police, in a country that just passed a military bill, a spending bill, that's almost $1 trillion. That money goes to defense contractors.
The government paying for things is not capitalism.
But we're in a capitalist system.
Where the government pays huge amounts of money for the things you're talking. Yeah, I'm not in favor of those things.
How about, instead of spending the money on the military, how about putting those back into basic needs? Healthcare, education, housing.
I agree. The government taking our taxpayer dollars and funneling it into, they're paying for things that the military explicitly says that they don't need. That's not, capitalism is about prices and transparency and choices. When the government takes our money and buys it because they decide. This is actually an example of
capitalism working.
That is not, that might be what you call capitalism, but when I come here saying I'm a capitalist, I'm not saying I'm in favor of that.
Profit and ethics are opposing motives.
So I think at its core, to profit, you have to exploit. And again, there is nothing ethical about exploitation.
Yeah, I mean, I can't think, I'm really having trouble thinking of a situation where someone could profit off of something without exploitation being in the mix, and I'm running out of ideas.
If you're running a business and, you know, you're the one up top, you would obviously walk away with more money if you pay your employees a little bit less.
I think that profit and ethics can be intertwined when seen with the corporate social responsibility module. When they treat their employees better, they give them more benefits, they raise their wages, and in turn it motivates the workers to work harder. And
treating your employees better than shit is not necessarily ethical. Like, raising the quality does not mean that you've raised it to a sufficient standard of treatment. Because if you're paying someone less than a living wage, that is unethical.
All I'm saying is, it is to some degree more ethical and can be seen as more ethical to be beating competition by raising the wages of your employees and giving them better benefits.
Also, one must be paid slightly less than they are making in worth for a company for it to be worth it to hire them at all.
If you can't pay your employee the minimum amount of money that they need in order to live, you have no business being in business. And I think also there's a tendency from the conservative side to skew away from sort of objective fact. I mentioned the MIT living wage calculator, right?
Yes.
That's a scientific model.
Wow.
That 29.25. So as a company, if you can't afford to pay your employee a living wage, that's just the minimum that they need in order to live, right? Get the fuck out of business.
Why are we even talking to you when you have all the facts and we don't know anything?
I don't know.
It's hardly worth my time.
Well, we would, sure.
It's hard to really lean towards one side or the other if everyone is just sort of stating all these coherent biases and not accepting any sort of thing from any other particular side, which is why I'm sort of just, I'm trying to understand your side, and I'm trying to grasp really my side of it. And again, going back to sort of that mutual understanding of what can we do next? That sort of mutual understanding needs to be there if we're going to ever continue to see what's best for the U.S.
I think one reason why, you know, you often see like folks on the left, the socialists, communists, anarchists, or et cetera, they're so passionate, and there is anger, you know. Seeing the suffering and the oppression and the exploitation, the racism, et cetera, you sort of feel this urgency, you know, like we're constantly under sort of this self-criticism and self-reflection about like, well, how do you package what can be complex ideas into ways that are very palatable? And
That's me every hour.
And I think like if there's a failure on the left, that would be one of them.
I wish that rather than having an agenda that we try to prove and we see ourselves as winning by convincing the opponent, I wish that we could consider winning as finding the middle ground and finding where we're similar and finding the truth. I think if you're in the pursuit of truth, then you've won, contrary to convincing other people that you're right.
You know, despite that, we definitely disagree on pretty much everything. It's good to note that the real common ground here is we as like millennials and Gen Z and stuff, we're actually like talking about this. Like whether we were able to convince the other side of anything or not, at least we give a shit about it, you know. This is stuff that we need to talk about. This is stuff that we need to be aware of.
Amen.
Especially given our leaders, so, yeah.
All right, guys, that's a wrap.
Thank you.
Thank
Good
you
argument.
very much. Pleasure, really.
Thank you.
You're cool people.
Thank you.
Talking.
It's good talking to you.
Right, interesting one. You know, this is one of those ones which is more on the topic of something on what. Let's try it again. This was one of those videos which was more on the topic of things that I'm less not knowledgeable about. So therefore, I don't really have any closing thoughts on it because I'm not completely I'm not completely versed in all this and I know what's going on. I don't know what's going on. But that's not the point of these videos. That's not the point of these videos for me to watch them and give my opinion. The main reason I'm starting this series is because these videos, these middle ground videos, I don't know if I've said this before. Sorry, I don't know if I've said this before. But these middle ground videos, they do intrigue me quite a bit because Jubilee, they take these two different subjects or groups or whatever. They bring them together, and it's just interesting to see if they can find middle ground, and it's interesting to see because usually these topics that they pick are very they're very conflicting subjects. Let's say they're very conflicting indeed, and it's interesting to see see them for once in a controlled environment, not getting rowy or anything, just talking about it and talking the different views. And so a few of these ones when I was watching these, I have been more on one of those on one side or the other. So I think and it's just interesting to see like the the opposing views to what I think, and interesting to hear why that is that, if you get what I mean. But yeah, so like I said, I don't have anything to. I don't have any final thoughts because I'm not. I don't completely. I'm not versed in the whole capitalism, socialism, jazz sort of thing. I'm not versed in that very much. So I don't know what it's all about really. But it's just I watched it anyway because it's just an interesting thing. I've heard about it. I've heard somewhat about what I've heard somewhat about it, and I know that it's just they're two different things, and it's just, you know, the thing about, like I just said, about two different groups talking to people that usually when they talk it can be quite. It doesn't end very well sometimes, and again these are just controlled environments. But yeah, so that's why I did the series. But yeah, I don't have any thoughts. So, but do you guys have any thoughts? What did you guys think of the video? And on that note, thank you all so much for watching this video. If you liked it, please leave a like, leave a comment, subscribe to my channel, Sergeant Beckett. If you like that, in the description there's a link to my link tree, and on that link tree you can find my socials, my social media, TikTok, Instagram. Well, I don't use Instagram that much anyway anymore, so I mean, you can follow if you want to, but TikTok, or the stuff, and a few Discord servers as well. But yeah, thank you all again so much for watching. See you all in the next video. Adios.